Let me explain Jagrat Sushupti first. Sushupti means deep sleep. It literally just means sleep. But in the context of the three states, it means what we in English would say deep sleep. Meaning, deep means without dream. Deep, dreamless sleep. This is Sushupti. Jagrat means the waking state. Okay, so Jagrat Sushupti means waking sleep. Okay, Jagrat Sushupti means waking sleep. Sometimes it's translated as conscious sleep. Slightly confusing because normally in the English language, when you're awake, we say you're conscious. Yeah. So normally consciousness, being awake, is associated with the waking state. So sometimes they're called Jagrat Sushupti, waking sleep. Sometimes they call it conscious sleep. It's the same thing. Okay. Now, as Hester as Hester pointed out, when you're in deep sleep, you can't inquire. You can't say, oh, let me just check, am I there? Is there a body? Is there a mind? Is there a world? Do I exist? Because why can't you do that? Because you're asleep. Yeah. What does that mean? Why can't you do that in deep sleep? Specifically, you can't do it because there is no mind. Inquiry of that sort happens in the mind. So the mind can't ask questions and look in deep sleep because there's no mind by definition in deep sleep. If there was a mind in deep sleep, it would be waking or dream, right? It would either be a dream mind or it would be the waking mind. And these are both the same, according to Bhagavan. The waking is just another dream. But this is what the point of self-inquiry is. The point of self-inquiry is to go into sleep consciously, right? Consciously look into the deep sleep state, but remain conscious and realize that you exist, but there is no body, no mind, and no world. So it's to consciously see what you are without the presence of the body, mind, and world. And what happens then is you realize your true nature. Because in the waking state and in the dream state, you know you exist, don't you? You know you exist in the waking state, and you know you exist in the dream state. But in these two states, there's always a body and a mind. Always, always. Whenever you're awake, there's always a body and a mind there. Whenever you're in a dream, there's always a body and a mind there. Okay? So you always identify as the body-mind. You never know yourself as existing without a body and a mind, do you? So you always think, well, I am the body. No, every time I'm here, every time I exist, the body exists, the mind exists. Therefore, that's what I am. You know, I go in my house and the environment has changed around me. I'm inside now. Before I was outside. Now I go in the house, I'm inside. The environment has changed, but the body and mind is constantly here, right? Therefore, that must be what I am. I can't be the lamppost because when I go inside, the lamppost disappears, but I'm still here. The body mind is still here. This is the one constant, is the body mind. Now I walk outside my house, the environment's changed again. Before I was indoors, there were tables, there were chairs, there were all these things, my indoor furniture. I can't be any of those things because now I'm outside. All those things have disappeared, but the body and mind is still here. So the constant thing you think is the body mind. So you identify as that, which is constant, right? Does that make sense to everybody? In deep sleep, the body, mind, world disappear, but because the mind is gone, there's no what we would call consciousness, meaning the mind is gone. And we identify as the mind. So when the mind goes, we think we're unconscious. Actually, we're not unconscious in deep sleep. We just think that because we're identified with the mind. But self-inquiry, the purpose of self-inquiry is to go into Jagrat Sushupti, waking sleep. Is to not fall asleep, to keep your awareness and remove the body-mind world. How do you do that? You turn, there's only one way. You have to turn towards that which is not an object, which is the subject, which is the self. It's the only way you can do it. The only other thing you can do is attend to objects. And if you attend to objects, there'll always be an object there. The only way you can remove, there'll always be the object you're attending to that remains. If you attend to the breath, you'll be focusing on the breath. The breath will always be there. If you're focusing on something else, that will stay there. But if you focus on the subject self, eventually everything else disappears. Body, mind, and world disappear, which is what it says in Who Am I, if you remember. It says when you go into the heart, the body, mind, and world disappear. And the I, or I am rises up. See, when you go into the self, turn towards the self, the body, mind, and world disappear. If you do not fall asleep, which is tamas, that dull state. Tamasic energy means that dullness, like this inertia. If you fall asleep, which is tamas, if you don't fall asleep, you stay awake, but you remove the body, mind, world. You are conscious of being there, but there is no body, mind, and world. That is realization, because you realize in that moment, it's not a moment, it's eternity. But you realize, and it's not a realization really, because the mind's not there. This is why you can't put it into words. All our experiences are really to do with our mind. And when we say we realize something, that actually means the mind realizes something. But when you do self-inquiry, you go into yourself, the body, mind, world disappear. But you don't fall asleep, you go into Jagrat Sushupti, which is not waking, it's not dreaming, and it's not sleep. Yeah, it's not waking because there's no body, mind, and world present. That's the defining characteristic of the waking state, right? It's not dream, because dream and waking are actually the same. There is no body, mind, and world present, right? And it's not deep sleep because you're conscious. It's Jagrat Sushupti, conscious sleep. It's not these three states. So it's called the fourth, which in Sanskrit is Turiya. The fourth. Turiya means the fourth. This is the reality. This is what you truly are. When you go into the fourth, the body, mind, world disappear, but you are there conscious of your existence and conscious that there is no body existing, conscious there is no mind existing, conscious there is no world. So that moment you realize, oh, just as when you walked inside the house, you realize you're not the lamppost because the lamppost is gone, but you're still there. The same way, when you do self-inquiry, you go into the fourth state, you discover you're still there, but in the absence of the body, mind, world. This is discovering your true nature as spirit or as consciousness, you see. This realization is not in the mind because there is no mind. It's just consciousness knowing itself. These are all words, trying to put into words something which there are no words for, because all words pertain to objective phenomena and the mind and the world and the body. And that's called jnana. Jnana means spiritual knowledge or realization. Self-knowledge, because all that's left is yourself. It's Turiya. Now, Turiya is actually just means the reality. We call it the fourth state, but actually it's the only reality. And in that, the other three states are realized to be illusory. They're not actually realized to be illusory. It's not the mind. It's not like there's a mind that says, "Oh, now I know the other three states are illusory." No, it's just they've disappeared. And all you're left with is infinite bliss, peace, love, happiness. And there's no time, there's no space, there's no body, there's no mind, there's no world, there's no knowledge, there's no experience, there's just what you are. Eternal bliss. So there's an article or two I've written on Jagrat Sushupti, conscious sleep, on tomdas.com, where it shows I've just put together some quotes of Bhagavan where he talks about this. He doesn't go into the kind of detail that I've gone into it with you, but you can infer it from, or you can make your own mind. You can compare what I've said with what he said and see if you think I'm saying the same thing as him. You can do that if you want. I recommend you do.